Hey, hockey fans, welcome to the Across the Pond Hockey Podcast YouTube channel. If it's your first time here and you'd like to support us, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. It goes a long way in helping us develop the program. Before we get to tonight's episode, I have to take a minute to thank our wonderful sponsors, starting with the China Hockey Group. The China Hockey Group is a family-oriented group of ice hockey leagues, training programs, and community initiatives geared towards developing hockey in Southeast Asia. From their incredible Junior Tigers program all the way up to the CIHL, which is Hong Kong's elite full-contact ice hockey league, they have a program suitable for players of all ages and abilities. You can also stop by the Warrior Bauer Hockey Shop in Central for all your equipment needs and skate sharpening. Check out their website for more information at ChinaHockeyGroup.com. That's ChinaHockeyGroup.com. Next, we have our friends at Accessory House Global. If you're like me and your headphones look like this, it's time to head to AccessoryHouseGlobal.com for any accessories you need for your headphones. From cables to carrying cases to new ear pads, they carry products for all the biggest brands. Head to their website at AccessoryHouseGlobal.com. Use the promo code ATP20 for 20% off your purchase. That's AccessoryHouseGlobal.com. Next, we have our pals over at Wheel Hub Asia. These guys are committed to building community and bringing accessibility to inline hockey players across Southeast Asia. They're heading into year 2 of Hong Kong's newest inline league, 3 Inline. You can head to their website for all of your inline hockey needs at wheelhubasia.com. Enter discount code ATP10 for 10% off your purchase. That's wheelhubasia.com. Next, we have our friends at Yardley Brothers Craft Brewery. Folks, if you're a craft brew fan and you're in Hong Kong, then you absolutely have to check out Yardley Brothers' incredible selection of award-winning brews. You can head to the Beer Shack on Llama Island or the Yardley Brothers Cafe and Bistro at 62 Peel Street in Central. If you can't get out of the house, no problem. Just head to their website, yardleybrothers.hk, and you can get their delicious products delivered right to your door. That's yardleybrothers.hk. Last but not least, a huge thank you to Mr. Paul McLean at Sunset Studio in Kennedy Town for always making the podcast sound great. If you're looking for a place to jam with your band or record a new song, check them out on Instagram at sunset_studio_HK. That's sunset_studio_HK. Folks, the websites and description will be in the description. All the discount codes will be there for you. Please check them out and support our wonderful sponsors. Hey, hockey fans, welcome to Across the Pond, Hong Kong's first and only hockey podcast. I'm your host, Chris Ivany, and my guest today was born and raised in Fulton, New York. He was drafted in the first round in 2004 by the Edmonton Oilers, played over 600 professional games in his career in 7 different countries. He's also represented the U.S. twice at the World Junior Hockey Championships. He now finds himself working with the China Hockey Group, coaching and helping develop our great game here in Hong Kong. Welcome to the show and welcome to the city, Mr. Rob Shremp. How are you, Rob?
Doing great, buddy. Thanks for the intro and thanks for having me on the podcast.
Oh, I'm really excited to talk to you. And I know a lot of people have been asking when this was going to happen, because when a hockey guy, a former NHLer, comes to Hong Kong, it's big news for the hockey world. So welcome, and I hope you've been off to a good start so far.
Yeah, it's been great. My wife and I and our daughter's here, so our family really enjoys it so far and having a really good time. It's been an interesting start though. Here August, I think it was August 10th, and within 2 weeks we get this level 10 typhoon. Oh, yeah. Like 7 days later we got black rain. It was like my wife and I were like, we're like in the middle of this history, right? Like this
exactly
the worst typhoon in like 60 years, and then the most rain in like 140 years. We were like, this
welcome to the city.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, but it's been great outside of that. It's a really cool spot, and everybody's been very welcoming, and the China Hockey Group's been really supportive. So definitely appreciative of this, launch so far and how it's been for the first month.
Awesome. Looking forward to it, man. We're going to have a great year. I'll obviously be spending some time with you on the ice and looking forward to seeing what you got. So let's get right into it, Rob. You grew up in Fulton. Tell me a little bit about your family. And I was looking it up on the map. Fulton's not all that far from Canada. What was it like growing up in Fulton?
Yeah, it's an interesting time in Fulton, New York. It's a small little town. It's like a factory town.
Mm-hmm.
We had like four major factories there, so there was that kind of blue collar backdrop, and yeah, it was awesome though. Sports were prevalent. There's a lot of really good athletes in that area. So I got a chance growing up to play, baseball, lacrosse. I wrestled for a quick minute until
Mm-hmm.
we're still really close family friends with the LeVay family.
Okay.
Josh was a year older, and he pinned me at like, I don't know, I was like 8 or 9,
Mm-hmm.
and he pinned me like I had no chance. Like this guy was so much more advanced. So that pinning ran me right off the mats.
Yeah, retired.
I had enough wrestling at 8. So, but there was a lot of great athletes up there, and
Yeah.
it was a really cool place. Robbie Williams was a kid that lived 2 doors down from me.
Mm-hmm.
We spent, I mean, you can't even count up the hours in his backyard shooting lacrosse balls, playing basketball, street hockey, then the local game, and the football in the street. So it was a pretty cool backdrop, place to grow up and learn different sports, and yeah, but also with like a rougher backdrop to it, like the rougher spice to it. Yeah. So it was interesting. Yeah. It was really cool to grow up there. And
brothers and sisters?
I have a brother and 2 sisters. My brother's
Okay.
Tyler, Jessica, and Chelsea. So,
Okay.
yep. There are 2, Tyler and Chelsea are still there in Fulton, New York. And then Jessica lives out in Saskatchewan. So she met a guy that played with my brother in the Southern Pro League. So pretty cool story. And, they hit it off and now they're together. So she lives in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Awesome. So you guys a big sports family, everyone?
Yeah, pretty much. Jess and Chelsea played basketball and soccer, and then both Tyler and I played almost everything. So
Right.
Tyler was a really good lacrosse player and hockey player. Yeah, we had a lot of that. My cousins are a little bit older, which was cool. We had some role models in some sense. Jeff and Chris, they're like, I can't know exact age, but I think they're like 12 and 15 years older than my brother and I. So
Right.
it was kind of that cool age when you're like 4 or 5, right? Like they're in high school, you're watching high school hockey, high school lacrosse.
Yeah.
So that kind of influences your sort of your likes. And yeah, it was a great place actually.
Awesome. And I know what it's like growing up in a small town, and your savior is sports. I mean, it's what keeps you going.
Yeah.
So
100%.
When did hockey first come on your radar?
I mean, I started when I was younger. My cousins Jeff and Chris played.
Yeah.
And it's really a lot of snow in the winter, and it's wintertime. It's like you're either the basketball courts or you're playing hockey kind of thing. So that community center was really pivotal. Like you said, in a small town, like that's where everybody gets together, right?
Yeah.
So it was cool. Yeah, it was great. So I started at 4 with the skating and stuff. And then actually, funny story, I was going to quit hockey at 8 years old and play basketball, which my dad was ecstatic about because he never played hockey. He was a basketball guy.
All right.
And the day I was supposed to make my go to basketball tryouts versus a hockey was on the same night. Robbie Williams was like, "Hey," he had these shoulder pads that I wanted so bad. They're called Flax.
Yeah, I remember Flax.
Yeah.
Of course.
They were sick. And hey, if you play hockey, I'll let you have these. And it changed me right around. Like I wanted those things so bad that I was like, absolutely. My dad was devastated, but I think it worked out. Like I've grown up into be a man now. I'm 5'11" with like an 18-inch vertical jump. I don't think basketball is gonna
be your thing.
It'd be like
that's great.
I'd still be there if I played basketball.
Well, it's good. It was good to figure that out at the age of 8. Growing up where you were, I mean, you're in New York, but you're so close to other major cities and hockey towns. Did you have a favorite team, or who did you follow as a kid?
Yeah, I was obsessed with the Rangers.
Okay.
Mike Richter and Mark Messier.
Yeah.
I rocked their like starter jacket that had like the pouch in the front,
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I rocked that. And then
of course you did.
I had
That's great.
Rangers goalie him. I love Mike Richter. He was so acrobatic and like just different, flexible, and making sick glove saves. And then Mark Messier is like down the right wing snapshot. Well, I was obsessed with those 2 things.
Right on. So you're obviously a pretty good player as a kid, and 10, 11 years old, and then I think I did my research, and it seems like you got your biggest break at the Quebec Pee Wee tournament. I mean, it's one of a kind. I assume it's the biggest in the world of its kind. Usually around 120 teams. I believe that's when your career got its kickstart. And what do you remember most about that event? And how difficult was it for you being compared to some of the greatest players to ever don skates at that time? Because the hype around you was really, it was a lot. And I'm sure I'd love to hear how that made you feel.
Yeah, it was nuts. It really did get nuts. It went from like, it's crazy. I learned like the biggest blessing that ever happened to me, and I believe it truly is, the rink got bought by Don Kernan. The local rink got, bought it from the city
Yeah.
as a owner, and he came in, and his son was Donnie ran the rink, and he drove the Zamboni. And one day my dad heard this like shooting going out on the ice, like these sounds were like popping, right? And he looks out, and this guy's ripping him. He's like, you got to teach my sons, right? So this guy taught me how to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
At 10 years old, I started going to him. And then my 11-year-old year, I scored like 350 goals in 86 birth year AAA. I played for the Syracuse, what was it? Syracuse Elite Crunch or something. That was a whole new thing, AAA. And they found me at the Fulton rink, and they came and asked me to play. And I went, and honestly, taking Donnie's shooting, I learned, like, I was shooting at 11 or 12. I was scoring on 20-year-old junior A goalies. Wow. Don Curry used to bring me out all the time. And like, when I'd get out there, the goalie would be like, look at this. Why do you have a kid out here? Right. And then 10 seconds later, they were like, shoot. It was bar down, bar in. Like, I got a chance really quick. Yeah. I give a lot of credit to Donnie. That's the point of the story. But and that's that. And then I got on the map after that season. I kind of went like, it got really like, it accelerated pretty fast. Like 12 years old, a movie with Wayne Gretzky. Through Tim Conley, like they had me come out there. This Wayne Gretzky's Trained to Win, so got introduced to Wayne Gretzky, and then like IMG, as an agency. So got to meet them. I met I had dinner with Bobby Orr.
Oh my,
yeah, it came out of nowhere. Like we were playing like travel hockey in Fulton.
Yeah,
it was never like I'm gonna go to the show. I didn't even think about it. I just like the fall came, and then you got your hockey crap on. That's how I saw hockey.
Right. That's crazy, man. I mean, keep going. Sorry.
No, that's kind of the backdrop. And it just, it was wild. I mean, they wrote an article or something that compared me to Lafleur, Lemieux, and Gretzky. I was like, cool. I didn't really, I was so like driven and focused. Like that was like, whatever. But it was wild. Like my dad, we were at Trinity, Quebec, and my dad's like, he's a pure hockey dad. He's amazing. Like just there to watch. Right. And, at the Quebec tournament, like, he wanted to hang out with the dads and have a couple of pops, and like, but they had the cameras like focused on him and like our family. It was a lot of like weird attention,
Right. Yeah.
Weird.
So what was that like for you? Like just being around your buddies and like people are wanting to talk to you. Like, did that throw you off, or were you at all prepared for it?
Yeah, it was bizarre to me, but wasn't unaware of it. It was just kind of weird. It just seems like, it's weird. It is weird. Anyway,
I can imagine.
Just try to jump on because you're playing the sport and you're like advanced at it. But not all are ill intent. There's a lot of great people that come in your way too. You attract a lot of things, so it's so a lot of positive and there's some negative. But it is a little bit weird. Yeah.
And I'm sure you had a lot of options at when you were 13, 14, 15. Like you're starting to get a few choices. What am I going to do here? Where am I going to play hockey? What made you decide to go to Canada?
I was playing tier 2 junior A when I turned 14. And like I played at 13, I played Bantam Majors. So I was like 2 years out, and we went to nationals. I played really well. Like I was at a level where I started dominating those games.
Yeah.
So then the natural progression the next year was like the junior A, Don Kernan owned that junior A team. So I was ready for it. At 12, he was going to bring me to the NAHL. He wanted to bring me into a game.
Right.
But that was too young.
Yeah.
I went to practice, and I was way over my head.
And was that something like a family decision, or like something that you had to come up with on your own to decide to go to Canada to play?
Well, so at 14, I got to play right at home because Don owned the team that played in the Ontario Provincial. So I got to stay there for 2 years. And in that time, I got, I made the U.S. National Development Team program.
Okay.
And I said no to those things because I had a resource at home. I mean, the Ontario Provincial League is a very good league. It was a very good league back then. It was, you're playing against men. It's physical. It was physical. I don't know how it is now, but it was really physical. And you grow up your game develops in that you grow up quick, right? Like you really get a set. Like you do a hot dog celebration in the Ontario Provincial, and you're gonna get like a stick broken. You know what I mean? Like you grow up. So it was a great resource is the point. And I didn't need to leave home. Like I got to play 25 plus minutes a game, 14 years old, playing against 19, 20-year-olds, playing with 19, 20-year-olds and playing with my brother. But I had that resource right there. It was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, really lucky to be able to stay home, I guess. So you get drafted first overall in the OHL. You had an incredible rookie season in Mississauga with the Ice Dogs. You basically won every rookie award you could win. And it was early in your second season that you got moved to the storied franchise, the London Knights. How did that come about, first of all? And what was it like being traded for the first time?
It was wild. It was really wild. It was tough, to be totally honest with you. It was really tough. There was a lot of distraction. The organization had sold over the summer. So it was all new people coming in. And, you know, I don't really want to dive deep into it. Just give you the boundary from my perspective and just kind of, you know, categorize it. But like, we felt really, really disrespected as a family and then me as an individual, the way that we were treated. And that's all. They got to a point where you're like, okay, like guys, it's my draft year. I'm not going to have these arguments. What are we talking about? Right. And I said, okay, that we're not going to come to an agreement. And then we just show it like, hey, I'm out of here. I don't need the distraction. Like, this is stupid.
That's unfortunate.
So that's how it got for me. And that's why I said, trade me by Friday or I'm leaving.
Okay.
And I got to Friday. I scored goal and 2 assists against Guelph. I played really good. And we went off after the game and the team went to the left and I had to go to the right with my agent because they didn't meet the deadline.
Wow.
So it was weird. Like that's the worst thing. It sucks, but it's like, you think in big picture would put a lot into it to get there for draft year. And off the gate, these guys are talking about stupid stuff, like things that would make it so my parents couldn't get to, like, they couldn't afford to get to the games. Like we had something that maybe they were extra outside, even if they were off the boat, whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't being abused. Like we weren't getting cars and houses, man. It was like literally so that get to the games. They used every gap color in every hotel room. So without it, we couldn't do that. And that's how I felt comfortable. My dad was at every game. My mom and dad were always there. So why would they? Why would you say this? This is not a request of like, give me a Rolls Royce.
Right. You want my parents at the game.
I want my parents at the game.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like, that's why I'm glad you explained that, because it's so much of that stuff happens in junior hockey. And, you know, sometimes you don't always get treated the best and you're not always at the top of the priority list of that general manager and stuff like that. So pretty crazy. You know, obviously it was their loss, but you ended up with the Knights, who were pretty loaded at the time. 3 long playoff runs. You won an OHL title there, a Mem Cup. Why were those teams so successful? And who were you playing with at the time?
It was amazing. The chemistry we had there, the group of guys really just got it. Like really, like everybody got it. You know, Dale Hunter's a great coach. He's won, I think, well over 800 games now in the OHL. He's very smart when it comes to bench strategy and tactics. He's really smart. So he gives a great framework there for the players to kind of work inside of. And then with those groups, we had a bunch of dogs. You know what I mean? Like the guys were like, wanted to win. Yeah. The first year there, we lost to Guelph Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals. And that was like probably the best thing that ever happened, to be honest with you. Because the next year we came in and we're like, everybody. We didn't talk over it. Cell phones were really that big back then. There was no group chat, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody was off doing their own summer, but everybody came to back. You could just feel it. Everybody had this mentality of like, that's not going to happen again.
No,
and
that's special.
Like gangbusters. We went 31 games undefeated out of the gate.
Right. Wow.
So you
that's
can
incredible.
say, like, you know what I mean? You see how that snowballed really good.
Yep. Well, something you said there, and this is something, a cliche that you hear all the time, especially in pro teams. Every time a team wins a championship, we're such a family in there. We're such a special group. It's a special locker room. It's a great group of guys. Have you ever seen or been around a pro team that wasn't like that? Like, it just seems to me like it's
you know,
obvious.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's different personalities from all over the world and different backdrop. It's not just because everybody's really talented. It doesn't mean that doesn't cash into personalities linking up, you know.
So it's just it's just that. It's just personalities, you think, and just luck of the draw when you get a group of guys that all kind of
100%.
have, yeah.
100%. Because
Wow.
there's another part of it, right? Like you're players are getting picked now by stats, right? By
Yeah.
analytics and numbers. So they fit a certain piece right to the puzzle. If you're talking about hockey, like you have to have some sense and some pulse on that of like character and how they get along with people. But the majority you're looking at like 27 goals, plays 11 minutes plus whatever. That piece gets put in there, right? And then it's not guaranteed that you're gonna all like each other. It's just it's nature. It's natural that way. But so sometimes it's not. For our group, I would say it wasn't, in London, it wasn't like I wouldn't say it was like a family backdrop. It's just that we all got it. Like it worked.
Okay.
But it wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, my brothers and this stuff like that. It was like we all, we all had the kind of same interests and stuff, but it was when we showed up to the rink, we all got it. And everybody was a dog.
I'm sure it was really special to be a part of that. I mean, those 3 years were pretty incredible. So at that time, who would you say you were looking up to the most, like as for guidance, or who were your mentors at the time helping you like navigate through this world of junior hockey?
I didn't really have one, which is probably the biggest thing. If I could go back, I wish I had. For sure. I found a guy later on at 23. Brad Wheeler's his name. He's like a absolute guru of hockey. He's brilliant. And I got with him, and it was great. It was great to have that pulse to it. Someone else has the pulse on your stuff and what's going on. And when they say something, it's like bang on.
Yeah.
Because you get a lot of advice. You get advice all over the time, right?
Of course.
Right?
99% of it, you're like,
buddy, that doesn't play that way. You just, so Wheels was great. And it was kind of blind, buddy. I was just going out there and trying to play.
Just a supportive family and a will to play.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. So 2004, or sorry, before I get to that, you absolutely tore up the OHL. Incredible numbers. Like I said, you guys can go online, you can check out his hockey DB, and you'll see all the awards and accolades. Take me all night to go through them. But when you were there, at that time, what do you think your biggest strengths and weaknesses were as a player, and have they changed? And had they changed throughout your career? Like, did they flip-flop, or how did that go for you?
I think biggest strengths was definitely really creative with offense. That way I could see the game pretty well and make plays and kind of had the pulse on the patterns of the game. But weakness would be defensively. I wasn't great. I wasn't like a defensive specialist. It's kind of weird. I got tagged with that, and it's not something I take lightly. I just saw ways of like trying to close players out and like angle them, and sometimes doubling up, and at the right time you could trap somebody. That's like kind of aggressive defensively, which worked in some places like Skellefteå, where they want everything doubled up, center helping all over the place. But some places it didn't work and it backfired on me. But it was never like lazy or cherry picking. I couldn't cherry pick. I was a center, so you can't cherry pick as a center. A little bit aggressive there. I think that was my issue, but
And over the course of your career, did you like try to right that ship or become a better defensive player, or like did that change, or would it still throughout your whole career you always were strong offensively, great shot?
Yeah, it's kind of stayed. It's like because I see the game a certain way, so it's my natural instinct, and it's so hard to change it, and it's not right. But my natural instinct is that it's like competitive, and at any moment I'm just gonna jump. I'm gonna jump you and try to take whether we're playing golf or whether we're playing basketball or whatever it is. I have the same mentality. It's like competitive. I don't know. I could never turn that off. I just always saw the angle to jump on a player, but it didn't change.
Well, it certainly worked for you, man.
It's fine. You get to learn like when and where to jump, or when and where to be more aggressive, what you're giving up, right? The risk and reward value. But your instincts don't change.
Good to know. Good to know. So 2004 comes, you hear your name called in the draft by the Edmonton Oilers in the first round. Where were you when it happened? And how can you describe that moment?
It was down in North Carolina. It was in Raleigh, was the draft. And it actually had 125 people at the draft.
Wow.
Friends and family. Yeah. We had like a whole section. So it was pretty intense. Yeah, it was cool. So yeah, I was sitting there in the stands and waiting for that to happen, and it was
Mhm.
wild. When I got picked, everybody was excited and a lot of people, so it was cool.
Did you have any idea where you were going?
No, it was a weird year too because I was ranked like top 5 in the draft,
Yeah.
and then I had a weird year with stuff going on. So asking for that trade didn't help me. It was like threw up a lot of red flags. So
Yeah.
it backfired to do that, but it was what it was. Principles are principles.
Yeah.
So I didn't know the top 10, and like I had a bunch of meetings. I met with everybody at the combine when you're ranked top. I think it's if you're ranked in the top. I want to say 60. They do a combine. They invite all 60 players to come in, meet all the
Yeah.
team, and interview and stuff like that. So yeah, so those meetings, there's a lot of guys like we're picking 15th. You're not going to even be here. That kind of
Mhm.
talk. I didn't
Yeah.
know, and I wound up going 25.
Right. Pretty awesome experience, I'm sure, man.
It's electric.
Did you have a, like, were you hoping you went somewhere, or did you even care at all?
Not really, to be honest with you. It's just
Yeah.
more. I kind of want to go higher.
Yeah.
I just
Of
told you, like
course.
I'm pretty competitive, so
Yeah.
it's just about compete, And I thought I was a good player, so yeah, it was. It didn't have it. You just don't know. Like you're sitting there, and it takes a while, right? And
Hmm.
yeah, those meetings there was like 4 or 5, and they were like, "You're not gonna be in our pick." And then they were picking, they didn't pick, so I didn't get
Right.
picked. It was an emotional roller coaster.
I can't even imagine, man. I can't
Yeah,
even imagine. What was speaking of emotional roller coasters, what was it like walking into your first NHL training camp?
so intimidating. Those guys are
Yeah.
monsters, like
Yeah.
You do the fitness testing. You got like Ethan Morrow cleaning like 380, whatever it was, 350.
Yeah.
I got a buck 85 on the bar, man, and I'm like dying to get under this thing. Like this guy's ripping them like sets of 8. I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you're
It's a
but
whole new world.
like that's how it was. You go into your body composition, all that crap. Everybody's got their jerseys off, tarps off, so it's like you these
Mhm.
monsters. But then when you get on the ice, it's the same shape.
Yeah.
It's when it went away. I was like, no, no, no. I'm on the shape. When I'm on the shape, I see it better than I see it different than. So it
Right.
doesn't matter if they have tree trunk quads.
Yeah.
Like my brain is what'll get me around the ice.
Awesome, man. That's the attitude you need. So you went into that camp. You ended up signing an entry level deal. Sorry, 3-year deal. Played most of those 3 years in the AHL, almost 3 full seasons. Few cups of coffee in Edmonton. You were putting up good numbers in the AHL in Wilkes-Barre and Springfield at the time. How are you feeling? Were you getting frustrated over those 3 seasons with with not getting an opportunity with the Oilers? And at the time, did you feel like you were ready to jump up there at that level?
Yeah, it was tough. It was really tough. I played like 7 games over 3 years, so it was
Yeah.
a lot of like dark, being in the dark, not knowing what's going on. Like,
Hmm.
how does this actually work? I thought I would be playing more games.
Right.
Usually, it's a season, the first round draft, but you play like half a year your first year, half in
Yeah.
the minors,
Yeah.
and then you full time, and then whatever. And I sat
Yeah.
there for 12 years, so it was tricky. That's for sure, because that's your dream. So it was hard, yeah, for sure. It was
I'm
like,
sure it was. Yeah.
yeah,
Did you feel like at that time you could have went and played, like, in your
yeah.
mind? I mean, I'm not talking about the hype around you or what people are telling you. Like, internally, how did you feel? Like, I can play in the NHL right now.
My first camp, I was sick, and that pretty much natural to my game. Like was on the power play, I was doing really well in the NHL.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's your bread and butter, right? Like, I in a 5-on-5, no, I was not. I would say I wasn't ready. I'd be somewhat of a liability, but not
Hmm.
like impossible, right?
Right.
I would have had to learn my stuff. I would have learned, the when to go, when not to go, kind of thing. But on the power play, like it's weird. It's funny because when you're on the power play, when you create for the power play, it does trickle over your 5-on-5, right? Like you get
Hmm.
the power play, you go out there and feel the puck, and you get to kind of dominate and dictate.
Yeah.
5-on-5, it's like that was the Western Conference too. Think of how big that is. Everybody was playing dump and run each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not a dump and runner,
Yeah.
so it was tricky, right? So, but I felt like I was ready, and in those camps, I thought I played well, so
Yeah.
I was confident that I could be there for sure.
Yeah. Um, so you spent 3 seasons in that organization and then claimed off waivers by the Islanders. And quick shout out to our Islanders fans here in Hong Kong who Rob, you're going to get to know real well over the course of this season. Terry Whalen, Jeff Wall, and Greg Flynn, big Islanders guys. And
But
they,
you should sorry to cut you off, but you should have seen Wally buzzing down the wing last night.
oh, he's a goal scorer. He just goes to the front of the net and he buries.
He's rocking this half that goes down to like basically his bottom lip, maybe even his chin.
Got to protect that face.
Yeah, he's like it's a curveball. You don't expect it. The guy turns on the turbos and then he just absolutely snipes.
He'll score. He's going to score 2 or 3 goals a game on average. That's what he does.
Oh yeah, he's undercover, man. I got a scout report on him already.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So they claimed you off waivers. This team, like I just went back to look at the lineup. You played like 90 games around in over 2 seasons. Yeah. Again, putting up decent numbers. What was your role on that team? And at that time, like we're going to take a look at you tell me about your role and then we'll talk about this lineup a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't have one, to be honest. When I first got there, I had to wait. I got picked up on waiver. And then, trying to make the long story short, but the first 5 games I played, left wing and fourth line, didn't play much, like 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah. And left wing, not my position at all. So it's kind of tricky. But so after that, they told me like, you're going to have to wait till someone gets hurt or, someone plays about a lineup, which turned out to be like, it was like 20 games. I sat in the healthy scratch until like December. So I didn't have a role and I was just waiting to get in. And then I got in and started to do pretty good. Started to get points, and I started, I got thrown right into the shootout, which is I kind of become known for a little bit. And I'd be honest, I didn't have, I was like a playmaking centerman. I never got breakaways.
Right.
Ever. I'm the centerman. How would I have breakaways? I would have to be cherry picked to get breakaways. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So I never got breakaways. And then all of a sudden I got chucked into the shootouts just because I had good hands. And the coach was like, when I first got into him, I was nervous as hell. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like, I don't know. Yeah.
So what's it like? Like you're obviously like you're a top 6 guy. You're a top line guy everywhere else you've been. And when you get put down in a role where you're not comfortable, how like are you just waiting? Do you think a guy like you or people with your skill set, like is it hard to play in the bottom 6 because you're not ever able to do what you do?
The first year was great. I had Blake Como.
Yeah.
I played with Como and John Sim a lot. We figured it out. Like Combs was a shooter. So
yeah,
I mapped out my chart to like during the game, I would find ways to find him, to get him open. And it was great. We were a great, like secondary scoring, almost third.
Yeah.
How do you say? Like, we were the third line.
Yeah.
And we were clicking at a goal a game, like between the lines. So we were a point a game for the time we were together, which is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, John Sim, good Nova Scotia boy as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this kid's in London now. He plays in London now.
Yeah. I'm looking. Yeah, that's right, Landon. I'm looking at the lineup. You had a 19-year-old John Tavares led the team with 54 points that year. Kyle Okposo, Mark Streit, Matt Molson, Franz Nielsen, Blake Como, like you said, Josh Bailey, yourself, John Sim, and then I get all the way down to Dougie Waite. Was Dougie the captain?
Yeah, Dougie was the captain. He was awesome.
You got to tell me something about Doug Waite because I loved that guy.
No, yeah, he was just a legend. He was unbelievable. Yeah. He's been around for a long time. He'd done a lot of great things in the game. So
yeah,
I was obviously on the back 9 of his career.
Yeah,
but he was still sick, man. The things he could do in practice, and when he's feeling good, you can tell when he was feeling good. Like it was sick. Still, he's an older guy at his age. He was sick. He was like
great player.
Absolutely, like what's the right word? He was like a master of his craft. His stick was something like kind of like narrow. Like he did some, but it was all calculated. Like the way everything he did was calculated, really smart. So Dougie Waite was awesome. I really enjoyed my time with him and being around him and his family.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you had those 2 years in New York led you to a brief stint in Atlanta with the Thrashers as well. What was your time like there? It was a short stint, but what can you tell us about Atlanta?
Yeah, it was true. Yeah, it was good. I mean, I went down there and it was great. There was a lot of good guys down there. Bufflin, Andrew Ladd.
Okay.
Blake Wheeler, who I knew, same draft year, Team USA stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a great group of guys. It was awesome. And then, it's the same thing there. I had to fight for my spot when I got there. I got pegged right in there, like the 3rd, 4th line, and then kind of got into a spot where I was playing with Kaner and Vander Kane and Antropov. We were like
Oh
every game.
wow. Nick
Unfortunately,
Antropov, monster.
he was nasty and he was so smart,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
He was fun to play with because he drew so much attention coming out of the corner. You think about it, it's like a battleship coming into the middle. Like
He's a
he's
big man.
one man's not enough to cover him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So you play off that double coverage, right? And he was
yeah.
silky with the puck. So but just unfortunately, it wasn't going in, man. We were hitting posts. We had every game we were really good. It just didn't, that's the thing. It didn't translate to points. So it is what it is. But yeah, so I thought I was going to be there for a while too. Like Rick Dudley I met him when I was 16 in Mississauga, and he was a fan of me my whole career. And I finally got to where he was, and he could look after me, and not just to give me a job, but also he's a great mentor. He's a great guy. So we were there, and then the season ended, got home, and I got a text in June out of nowhere from Andrew Ladd, group chat. Hey, boys, he said, boy, I think it's something like, boys, pack your parkas. We're going to Winnipeg. And I was like,
Oh,
what does that mean? I didn't even know. I got there in January, right? I didn't hear one word of sale or move relocation, not a word.
right. Wow.
Maybe it was happening. Or
I forgot that was the same year. That's
maybe I didn't hear. I wasn't privy, or maybe nobody knew. But then you get that text, and my first thought was like, oh crap! Like they're likely to change management.
Yeah.
When they sell a team, like they bring their own stuff, right?
Yeah.
And sure enough, they made the announcement, and then like 3 weeks later, they let everybody go as new management. And then the new management came in, and they asked me right away, like, we want, my agent or whatever, that we want Rob on a 2-way contract. And I was like, that I know exactly what that means. Starting to my ears, climb back up. But so that's how it went. And that's when I made a decision to go to Europe. I wasn't going to do the climb because of my time. I was 3 years in the minors. Josh Grad said it to me perfect. Like the 1 year is absolutely not necessary. 2 years is great. You get refined, but the third year you rot. Right. So you go backward. I did. You see my numbers.
Yeah.
You need time up, because when you go up, your game comes up. When you stay stagnant at that one level, the AHL, which is it's a weird thing in itself. Everybody's out for chasing the dream of the NHL. It's a totally different brand of hockey.
Yeah.
3 years in it, you start to lose your edge.
How would you describe the brand of hockey? Like, what makes it so different?
Just the jungle a little bit, like the left winger is supposed to be on the left side. Like in the NHL, it's why I wouldn't say it's so easy, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
Everybody plays their position. They're always in their position, and they're also really good in their space.
Yeah.
You get in the AHL, and it's like the left wing's supposed to be over there, and he's buzzing around over on the right side. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of it, someone could be doing the same exact thing, trying to find a hit.
Right.
You're going with the puck, and nobody should be coming from this blind spot. And here comes Chucky. He's going to blast you. You don't know where it's come from. You just got to be aware.
And at that time, like is the AHL more of a young man's league now, or is there still a group of older veterans that are, that battle it out for 10, 15 years in the AHL, or
no, it's totally flipped. Yeah, it's they have five veteran rule.
Okay.
So you get 5 in the lineup. You can have 10, but like to think about that financially, it makes no sense on a business scale. Like, why would we pay 5 people that can, or 10 people? We can only play 5. So it's 5 veterans, and that's like something along the lines of, if you played 320, I want to say 320 professional games, you're considered a veteran.
Okay.
So that's 4 years.
Yeah.
About 80, 160. That's 320.
Right.
That's 4 seasons. You're a veteran. So you got to either solidify one of those 5 spots, or you got to find employment somewhere else, or make it up.
Right.
So that tells you kind of exactly what the league is, right?
So the thought of that just for you just wasn't appealing, and you're like, I'm going to look elsewhere.
In the way I felt that last year in the minors, I would never want to feel that way again.
Right. Makes sense.
I was so adamant about it that I went to Sweden.
Right. Winnipeg wasn't far enough. You had to go to Sweden.
Yeah.
So you ended up in Sweden, and you had a few years bouncing around different leagues. You played in, like I said, I think it was 7 different countries if I counted them. Some of the flags are pretty similar. Couple contracts in the KHL. That's where I first want to start. What was your experience like in the KHL? Because we hear so many horror stories and like craziness that happens. What was your time like there?
Yeah, it was quick.
Yeah.
It was very quick. So it wasn't great. I'll just say that. But it's also tricky too. I walk a fine line because I've actually, everything happens for a reason, and it is,
Hmm.
whatever you learn from every experience.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm married to a Latvian girl, and we
Okay.
live there. But it wasn't a great experience, so I'll just leave it at that. It wasn't.
All
Yeah, it
right.
was 4 months, and I didn't get a chance. I just say, in my opinion, that's it sounds like a crybaby thing to say, but it's just I didn't get a chance. So
Right. So out of all those leagues, I mean, the Swiss league, the Dow, Switzerland, which one of those, first of all, was the toughest grind? Like, we hear stories about the old East Coast League or things like that, where it's just a grind. It's just you're constantly on the road and buses and whatever. Which one of those leagues was really tough to play in?
none of them. It's
None of
amazing.
them. Yeah.
Schedule great. As an athlete, you're treated much more like a human being.
Right.
If you're sick, you don't play. Like it's
Yeah.
in North America, like if you're not at 104, then if you sit out, then someone takes your spot. It's
Right.
so like next up kind of thing. Where in Europe it was
Mhm.
more like. So I remember the first year, I think it was Nicky Danielson. He was one of our leading scorers. He wasn't around for a few 3-4 days, and I'm like, hey, where's Nicky? And the trainer in broken English, I was like, oh, he has blood infection. I was like, oh my God. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like, what do you mean? That sounds terrible to me. Blood infection. And
Yeah.
I'm like, hospital? And he's like, no, he's got like, I'm like, he's got a cold. He's like, yeah. And so he missed
Blood
like
infection.
4 or 5 days with a cold.
Yeah,
And
he
I was
was
like, I
dying.
couldn't do that. And no way in North America you'd get, you know what I
No,
mean?
that's not gonna
So
fly.
yeah, it's more like that. The travel, the scheduling is great.
Yeah.
Germany, you kind of bus around, whatever. It's like 4 or 5 hour bus rides, but
Right.
be honestly, at that stage of my career, and for me personally, that was fun. That brought you back to like junior days. It's 4 or 5 hour bus rides, boys
Yeah.
just being boys, whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. So it's anything over 5 is kind of, now you're talking like that is grind, because
That's a track.
the bus sucks.
Yeah,
You're
always.
like scrunched up. There's no way to get comfortable unless you put maybe something on the ground to sleep, but like you got to think about it. It's 22 or 23 men.
Mhm.
The floor is not clean.
No, definitely not.
You know what I mean?
Definitely don't take your shoes off.
No, no, it's crap all over. So but
Did you have a favorite place to play over there? One of those leagues that was just, for one reason or another, just appealed to you more than the others?
Switzerland was amazing. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. Like,
It's
bus rides are like the most scenic thing you've ever seen in your life. The
yeah.
mountains are beautiful. You got Lake Como. Like there's all this cool stuff. You're driving by. It's like, and I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so interesting. Even here, like I take the ferry every day.
Yeah,
And
me too.
I love that ride. Like watching that, seeing the mountains on the way back to DV. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't get old to me. And I've seen, Swiss mountains. Like I've never seen mountains before. It's a scenic view. It's beautiful. It's like peaceful every time you see it.
Yeah, no, it's a nice ride, man. And the city's always there. It's 25 minutes away.
Yeah, exactly.
The ferry's always on time.
Yeah,
Unless it's a T10. If it's T10, it's the only time they shut down. So you battled it out. You had a fantastic career, Rob. I mean, just incredible stuff. A long career. Anytime, just hats off to you for such a great career. And when you decided to hang them up, I mean, some guys really struggle with it. Some guys, it comes a little easier. What was your process like?
Yeah, it was tricky. Definitely not the way I imagined it. To be
Yeah.
honest with you. It was very sudden.
Hmm.
Kind of felt cornered into that decision, but it's a different story.
Yeah.
It's tough. So it was time. I had a couple concussions in my last year, and 6 month, 3-month-old daughter at the time. I decided there was a couple factors, but I decided to walk away.
Hmm.
And it was tough. You go from having a schedule every day and having purpose to not like flat and having
Right.
no schedule, no 20 people in the morning to say hi to. It happens pretty abruptly, and I don't think you're ever ready for that.
Right. Yeah, I don't imagine you could be.
Yeah.
But it seems like you were ready to coach and get back into the game after a couple of years, and 2021 came around and you started your career as a scout and as a coach. And was that something you kind of had in the back of your mind, or was that just a way there's something you came up with after retirement to stay in the game?
No, I went away from the game for like about a year and a half, and just needed a break. And then, it got to the point where I was, the passion, never left kind of thing. And
Yeah.
watching the games all the time and watching, keeping the pulse to it, and skating more and more. Then I came back to it, and I just, hockey's in my blood, and that's my resource, and that's also my knowledge and my expertise. So I think emotionally, I just needed a minute to walk away and just get away from it for a second. And that was a good break, to take a year and a half off and just do other things and learn other things. It's really important too. It's just kind of building that up, like as an athlete. And for me personally, I can't speak for everybody. Some guys do go the university route, but like, hockey is your everything. You know what I mean? It's what we know.
Yeah.
Like, I was struggling with emails when I retired. I know it's probably not good for me to say it out loud, but it's the truth. Like, for 15 years, I never used email. Like, people call or text me, my agent, my parents, my significant other. Like, the circle's pretty small, and your hockey is like your living, so you're focused all on that. But anyways, it's it was good to get away and learn some things, and get my feet wet in some sense of the business world and what it takes about that kind of things, which was good. But then I came back, and coaching, I really love teaching. I love giving players things that they can use, and the whole process of that is fun. Watching it's very gratifying to watch the growth of a player. That's my level. I've worked with some NHL guys, which is pretty cool. They get it really quick. That's gratifying, but it's also super gratifying to get like a 7 or 8 year old. You give them something, and like 20 minutes later, they're going like bar down. You know what I mean? It's so cool. But,
well, not just helping a certain player. You helped an entire country by the sounds of it. Latvia is not doing too bad on the world stage right now.
Yes. Yeah. They're out. They came to play with the World Championships. It was awesome.
That's right. Yeah. Unreal to see.
Yeah. I was there in person to watch a bunch of games, saw a bunch of guys and stuff. It was awesome. But the city came to life. They had a parade of like 150,000 people a couple of days after the third the bronze medal game. So it was pretty cool to be a part of. It was good to see that too for the country. Like, it's a small country, and Soviet, post-Soviet occupation. They need wins like that to get them, make them believe, right? So it's powerful what that bronze medal actually means to that country. It's huge.
It's huge. Absolutely.
Air value, because for a long time, everything started with no, and you can't. And now it's something along the lines of like, well, maybe we can't, that's where that really goes. It's a thing that they won that third place.
It's huge. It's huge.
So it's pretty cool. And I was happy for the country. Unfortunately, they scored on the USA. I didn't know how to feel. But I will say, Scott Gordon, he was coaching on the USA team. He was my coach in the Islanders. Yeah. It's interesting. And Quinny was the coach of my World Juniors team, one of the coaches. So it was an interesting conflict to watch that game. You want bad for my wife's country, but it's USA, my old coaches. Like, how do I do this? I got to figure this one out.
Pretty cool to see, though, man. You were there and you were part of it, and must have been a really cool experience. And now you're here in Hong Kong, so you got big shoes to fill now that you had such great success in Latvia. But no, on a serious note, though, Hong Kong, we need all the help we can get in the hockey world here, and it's a sport that's growing quickly. How did this happen? How did you get this opportunity? And how excited are you about being here and helping build hockey in a place where you never thought you'd ever be?
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting story. It's just, it's kind of like 6 degrees of separation. A friend of a friend talked to me and met him, probably 2 years ago. Every couple of months, he'd send me a note just checking in, saying hi, let me know what his projects were with ice rinks and stuff. And then last March, he messaged and said, hey, they're looking for a hockey operations guy here in Hong Kong. Would you take the call? And I said, absolutely. So I took the call and met with Greg Smith and flew out here in March. And I thought, this is, honestly, like you just said, like, when I send this place where I'm living right now to my friends, they're like, how the hell is there hockey there? We're on like an island off of Hong Kong. It's honestly really cool. So I was excited about that, and I was excited about the project and being able to come here and help develop the program. And I'm really excited about this opportunity, actually, because it's really like a fresh canvas for me. And I've got a lot of things that I've had, that I think about the game and how I see the dynamics of the game that I believe in. And I get a chance now to build that step by step. It doesn't matter, the level. Yeah, we're not talking about AAA Canada.
Yeah.
It's got some room to grow, but like
Yeah.
this is where it's at. Where someone, I guess, I don't know if I could say this, but just what it takes. Like when people come in here for like a week or 10 days at a time and do a camp, like it has some impact, but like it's more about like boots on the
100%.
ground. If you go through the programs, I get 24 hours with each program. Whether it's semi-private or there's a couple of programs I get 29 hours through the course of the season with that group of kids. Like you can have a lot of impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we need. We need guys like you. We need people here to help build the culture of hockey the right way. And I think, someone with your experience, it's really big for us. And certainly looking forward to everything that you're going to bring here. Anything stick out to you so far about the kids or the players? I know you've been on the ice a few times, gotten to see how they interact with each other a little bit on the ice and off the ice. Anything different from kids anywhere else, or your initial thoughts?
No, honestly, the kids are the same all over the world.
Yeah.
And it's like the U7, U9s, like, there's always going to be a sword fight going on in the line, in the back of it's all the same. Hilarious.
Everything. Yeah.
It's kind of funny that way that universally we're all kind of the same as little hockey players when we're that age. And so, the U11 kids, the same thing, there's a couple mannerisms or so to speak, or, they're ready to be assertive and attention, get their attention for a full hour. They're close when it takes some time.
Yeah.
A couple extra whistles.
Of course. Yeah.
No, it's been great. I've been really pleasantly surprised with the level of talent of the kids and the passion of the kids. That's why I was excited to come too, because those are great bones to have.
Yeah.
As for your structure, if you have that passion and talent, like you can do a lot. So it's not like I'm starting from, all the way from scratch. There's a lot here of resource. And I think that's kind of credit to the guys that have been here before as well. There's been some great, I think in my opinion, the China Hockey Group's done a great job of bringing a lot of resource here with, guys that have been here in the past. And, those kids are very lucky. It doesn't have to be an NHL star. Like, these Canadian guys and guys that went to NCAA that came over here, they have a great path too. And they've absorbed, like, think about that journey. They've got some cool stuff along the way too. Just because it wasn't the show, it doesn't mean it's, in value. NCAA and major junior, like you get a great resource of stuff from people.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really talented hockey players in this city. And you just mentioned like Benny McCaskill and, Whitney Olson and Dave Belush and these Jesse Lucia. These guys are legit hockey players. And there's some really good talent here. And they've been working really hard with the kids, and you're going to have the opportunity to play with the RBC Lions, which is, the U16, mostly U16 players. You're going to get to actually suit up with them and play with them and teach them stuff. So I'm sure the kids must be real excited to get that started.
Yeah, no, that is going to be great. And that was part of it. I was supposed to kind of general managing coach kind of thing. And then I decided to play because I think that's a ton of value when kids you're spending a lot of time with and trying to teach, that you can go out there and execute and show them different stuff too. Like, there's I guess there's the basics and that kind of thing that you're teaching a kid, but also like how to be creative out there and how to be kind of I think mentality is a huge thing. And it's something for me. I know it knocked down a lot of doors with my mentality. Like I always thought I could, so I did. I never thought I couldn't. So, and then when you get out in those scrimmages, like that's the thing, you say, buddy, try this, like try that in that moment, try this. And then if you get any confusion, I'll go out the next shift and do it. Like
exactly.
That's what because I think that's super valuable for them to see that it is possible and then how to do it. So, and then it's not just some crazy older guy, like running them through drills,
Yeah, exactly. Just blowing their whistle all the time.
Just hammer on the whistle.
So there's a lot of good things happening here. And like one of the things that lacks, there's a lot of like individualized skill training and that kind of stuff, which is kind of odd. But in the development of teams and programs, now with the Southern China League, like some traveling, getting on a bus with your team, stay in a hotel for a night, go to a weekend tournament. Like these kids have never experienced any of that. And I think like that's the thing that's missing. Like that's the part where it's like they talk about hockey the whole time. Like they go from school on the bus and their mom takes them to the rink and takes them home. There's no like, it's just different. You know what I mean? So like these kind of experiences, playing with you, getting a little bit of traveling, getting to, I think those are the things that'll really help develop the game here.
Yeah, I think it's so I don't know if the right, but invaluable those weekend trips as a 10, 11, 12-year-old. And that's what we did every weekend. You know, even when I was playing in Fulton, it was travel hockey. It's not AAA, but like, you know, every weekend we were going to Pulaski is 45 minutes away. And the big thing, we go to Auburn and stay in a hotel, the pool, and get to do all that, you know, going to the pool together as a bunch of kids. And it was pretty cool. Yeah, that I think it was like you just said too, that you're talking about hockey, playing floor hockey. It's hockey. Yeah. But then, you know, on the flip side of it, I feel like the kids here and the culture here, like they're very diverse, like with what they do. I mean, they play an instrument, they play 2 or 3 sports, like they have, which I kind of, I don't know if I didn't have that. I just played sports.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, I think that's such a great resource as a parent.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that, but it is different, right? They do a lot of stuff. They speak, you know, a lot of different languages, different instruments. So it's unique for their overall thing. But if we're talking hockey, like that's the thing that kids in North America are like.
They'll die for hockey. Like, you know, it's live or die.
Yeah. That's what you're up against, right? A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But not like, but then in the same breath, you got kids here that are, and I'm sure you've seen some of them already. You got 16-year-old kids here that could play a AAA team anywhere in the world. There's some talented kids around here, and a little bit of coaching and a little bit of, you know, a little bit of exposure will go a long way for them.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing, getting them some new information. And you know, that's really important. Again, even what I just told you, like as long as like when I'm training the guys, like I tell them that, like if that's what you want, it's okay. I mean, that's not for everybody. I'm not going to learn to skate program. Be like, you're chasing after, you know what I mean? Learn to skate in upstate New York. It's not like that. It's those kids, if that's what they want, like that's the information you got to be able to give them, right? And like help them understand. Like it's not, again, some old guy going, you got to do that. I'm just telling you, like over across the pond, there's some kid that's going nuts right now about whatever, gym, ice, you know, discipline, sleeping, eating, like that's what you're up against. So you might meet him someday if you get to where you want to go.
That's cool, man. I mean, really looking forward to seeing how the year shakes out for you and how everything develops. And I'm sure it's going to be a smooth operator type of situation for you. Before I let you go, I got a few, I'm just looking at my notes. I did have some questions written down, some stuff that didn't come up in the conversation. Just quickly, all kinds of stuff going on with Mike Babcock in the game right now. Any crazy coaching stories or like a wild request or things that a coach maybe have made you do in the past?
No, I don't have anything like that.
No,
it's your standard, like snap show in between periods, like dumping the Gatorade, you know what I mean? Like flipping the table going.
Yeah.
Absolutely ape, you know what? But nothing like, we drove
nothing Babcock.
Crazy. No, not bad. Not like looking at our phones and photos and stuff. So I never get into that crap.
That's good. In your opinion, biggest goal you ever scored in your career?
Biggest goal I ever scored?
Yeah.
Biggest?
Most important in your mind. Could have been any league, anytime. For you.
I always loved my baseball goal I scored with the Islanders. That was my sickest goal. I don't know, biggest, but best for sure.
Best. All right. That's a good answer. Next, which Canadian team do you think is going to win the cup next?
None of them.
None of them.
Dude.
It's not happening.
I don't know. It's so hard. I don't know. I thought Winnipeg was close, but they've crumbled. Man. That was supposed to be like a character team. You know, they got a lot of pieces, really good pieces, like, you know, tall, talented right-handed shooters. They got this so smooth offensive left-handed players. They got I don't know. So I thought Winnipeg. I just don't know. It just seems like they don't have their house is built on a deck of cards almost.
Seems like that. I was just watching a story. I mean, you mentioned Blake Wheeler earlier, and he's obviously in New York right now. I just watched a little segment on him, introducing him with the Rangers, and so the way God knows what's happening in Winnipeg right now. But if they don't sign Scheifele and Hellebuck, they're in big trouble.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be flipped. It's gonna be a total rebuild.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Robbie. Before I let you go, I have a set of overtime questions. They're one-timers, quick one-answer questions. Say the first thing that comes to your mind, and then I'll have one final question for you. All right?
Perfect.
All right. Number one, Habs or Leafs?
Leafs.
Lemieux or Gretzky?
Lemieux.
Probert or Domi?
Domi.
Waugh or Brodeur?
Ooh, wow.
or Lidstrom?
Lidstrom.
Claude Lemieux or Brad Marchand?
Brad. Oh, that's Brad Marchand. Yeah, for sure.
New captain.
I know.
Yzerman or Mess? I think I know where you're going on that one.
I would go Messi.
Yeah, yeah. Bowman or Burns?
Ooh. Bowman.
Ron or Don?
Don.
Shootout or no shootout?
Shootout.
Last question just for you, Rob. Of all the pro arenas you've played in around the world, which one was the most memorable or greatest arena you've ever played in? And why?
Ooh, that's tricky. I would say the Colisée, the Trinity, Quebec.
Whoa, good call.
Yeah, that was
just
really
a special history there. And
yeah, and it's 12 years old. You're like in a spot. Like it's such a cool thing that it provides. Like every year, these 12-year-old boys, 13-year-old boys get this like experience. Like you're playing in a Coliseum, almost like a gladiator. So it's pretty cool. I'd say that or Davos in Switzerland.
Davos, good call. I've heard a lot about that as well.
It's like,
well, sir, you made it. We made it to the end. It's after 10 o'clock on Friday night. Here we are doing a podcast. A couple old men.
We're old, buddy. We're old.
Yeah, I know. But here we are. We did it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I look forward to getting on the ice with you.
Likewise, buddy. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. That's Across the Pond, and that's a wrap.
Thank you to our amazing sponsors, the China Hockey Group, Wheel Hub Asia, AccessoryHouseGlobal.com, Yardley Brothers Beer, and of course, Sunset Studio. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Across the Pond HK. Email us, send in your comments and questions to the show at any time at acrossthepondhk@gmail.com.